Peter Parker's high school is on a field trip to a museum. Principal Coulson is showing the class a Nordic stone associated with Thor and Asgard, while Parker is explaining to us why he hates field trips. The young S.H.I.E.L.D. superhero team is there as well, and Iron Fist stupidly reads aloud the runes on a Nordic stone. The stone starts reacting and it summons an ice giant wielding a large ice club that attacks the place and the people. Everyone quickly suits up and attacks the giant back, trying to stop his rampage. The giant proves to be difficult for the Spider-Man and his team to deal with, as it whoops all their asses with ease. Suddenly, lightning and thunder penetrate the sky as Thor makes a grand entrance through the museum's ceiling to deal with the ice giant himself. Thor tells the young superheroes to stand back and let him deal with the ice giant in a very condescending way. Thor deals with the giant and Spider-Man alongside his team bicker with Thor about trusting them and letting them handle things, which leads to them bickering with themselves and proving Thor right about them being too young still. Thor then goes to investigate a weird necklace around the giant's neck. Spider-Man gets his spidey sense tingling and quickly warns Thor about touching the necklace, but Thor touches it anyway and gets turned into a frog version of himself with the costume and the hammer and everything. If you're into animation recaps, then Inky Myths will be your go-to for manga recaps, the ultimate hub where your favorite manga and webtoons come alive in thrilling summaries. Whether you're catching up on the latest chapters or revisiting old favorites, we've got you covered. So, what are you waiting for? Subscribe, like, and join us as we uncover the ink-stained tales of adventure and myth. Thor is furious and thinks only one person could be capable of such magic, and it just so happens to be his brother Loki. He tells Spider-Man and the young superhero team about his history with Loki and his father Odin. Thor wants to return to Asgard and take revenge on Loki. Spider-Man convinces him that he needs the superhero team's help with this, whether he likes it or not. They travel through the portals to Asgard and are shocked to see it covered in ice with everyone frozen in place. Ice giants suddenly ambush them and freeze Thor and the superhero team instantly before knocking out Spider-Man. They are captured and taken to Loki. Loki traps Thor in a bubble and the hero team in an ice block as he taunts them and explains his evil plan like he already secured the ultimate victory. The young hero team shifts Loki's focus to them as he continues his onslaught of roasting. They surprise him with Iron Fist finding the weak spot in the ice block and breaking the whole thing down. Loki and the ice giants fight them as they try to save Thor the Frog. They manage to free him, and he immediately calls for his hammer to join the battle. The fight gets intense and Spider-Man orders a tactical retreat, with Thor obliging while being utterly humiliated that he can't do anything about it as a frog. Thor tries to berate Spider-Man for convincing them to retreat, but Spider-Man tells him that fighting was nonsensical and they need a plan. These words ring true to Thor, and he takes them to someone who can help them, a forger dwarf, who is also an old friend. The dwarf is grumpy because Thor has been sniffing his own farts and never once thanked him for the hammer he wields or even checked on him. He only comes when he needs help. Spider-Man pushes Thor to be the humble prince, and Thor apologizes profusely, which earns the respect of the dwarf, and he agrees to help them. Meanwhile, Loki and the ice giants are still at it by trying to break down the door to the chamber of Odin and kill him while he is taking his iconic 7 p.m. nap.
Salty is actually taking his iconic 7 p.m. nap!
Thor suddenly shows up right behind them, and Loki orders the ice giants to kill him. Thor surprises him even further by teleporting Spider-Man and the S.H.I.E.L.D. team, where each one of them is carrying a weapon forged by the legendary dwarf to suit each of their unique abilities and lets them reach their full potential. Except for Spider-Man, who the dwarf states is already strong enough, but he just needs to let that strength come out every now and then. They make excellent use of their weapons and abilities to take down every ice giant. Loki, however, traps Thor one more time, and it is up to Spider-Man to defeat him. Spider-Man uses his wit to get to Loki's head and convince him to kill Thor while he is in his normal form, or he will risk having everyone in the 9 realms making fun of him for slaying a frog. Loki falls for the obvious trap and is instantly humiliated by Thor. Thor thanks Spider-Man and the young superheroes by gifting them a 2-headed goat. Chaos takes place at Times Square in New York City, and Spider-Man checks out the source, only to find Mesmero brainwashing several civilians and police officers to do his bidding and steal a bank. When Spider-Man tries to stop him, he orders the civilians to attack Spider-Man. Spider-Man tries to wriggle himself out of trouble without hurting anyone innocent, but then suddenly, Wolverine shows up and mistakes Spider-Man for the source of all the chaos happening at the moment. He threatens him to stop his silly little magic, but Spider-Man is confused and tries to fix the misunderstanding. He jumps away from him, and Wolverine finds himself stuck in the middle of the brainwashed crowd, fighting his way out of it. Spider-Man stops him before he does anything he would later regret, and they team up to solve their little issue with as little damage inflicted as possible. They break a fire hose hose and spray water on the people. It works, and the people wake up, only to be angry that Spider-Man sprayed water all over them and start berating him for it. Classic New Yorkers, man. Anyway, Wolverine spots Mesmero, but Mesmero is quick on the trigger and brainwashes more civilians to attack Wolverine. Spider-Man then stops him right before he escapes, and Wolverine threatens him to free everyone's mind. He does, and Nick Fury immediately shows up with S.H.I.E.L.D. to apprehend Mesmero. Spider-Man and Wolverine have a clash of ideals, and how Wolverine is okay with stooping down to the villain's level, while Spider-Man tends to lean on the non-killing side of superheroism. They almost fight, but Nick Fury stops them, as everyone goes back to their normal lives for now. Mesmero, however, seems to have been interested, and his powers activate for some reason. Spider-Man goes about his day until he almost falls asleep during class and wakes up in the body of Wolverine. Spider-Man immediately freaks out and almost destroys the whole apartment accidentally. Meanwhile, Wolverine also wakes up in the body of Spider-Man and finds himself in the middle of the school, all defensive and confused. Spider-Man, in Wolverine's body, calls Wolverine in Spider-Man's body, and they both realize what has happened. But their shock is only momentarily, as Sabretooth ambushes Wolverine in his own apartment, not knowing it is Spider-Man. Spider-Man uses Wolverine's body and tries to run away from a confused and infuriated Sabretooth, while Wolverine gives him advice over the phone. Spider-Man begs Wolverine to stay in school and not miss classes while he tries to deal with Sabretooth alone. Meanwhile, Wolverine is freaking out everybody around him at school who doesn't understand why Spider-Man is acting the way he does right now. He even manages to creep out MJ after he flirts with her and tells her, and I quote, "I like me some redhead." Riz for real. He beats the shit out of Flash, who is trying to bully him, and leaves the school for the day. Spider-Man in Wolverine's body meets him outside of school, and Wolverine tells him that Mesmero has to be the one behind their Freaky Friday situation here. Suddenly, Sabretooth shows up again and figures out what is happening. He decides to slice them both and get rid of Wolverine once and for all. Wolverine fights back using Spider-Man's body, and Spider-Man pleads with him to wear the costume and not use his powers in public, ruining his secret identity. He gets him to comply by threatening to shave his body. Wolverine puts on the Spider-Man suit and tests his new abilities as he finds himself slowly talking and quipping like Spider-Man. Meanwhile, Spider-Man is also slowly talking like Wolverine and boasting about his power and abilities. They manage to team up and beat the shit out of Sabretooth. Spider-Man and Wolverine go to S.H.I.E.L.D., and they force Mesmero to turn them back to normal. They have a small talk after, and Spider-Man earns Wolverine's respect as he advises him to cherish how good his life is at the moment. He gave him this advice while stealing a S.H.I.E.L.D. jet, of course, because he is just that much of a legend. I am not gonna lie, this Spider-Man show is getting relatively better by the episode. It was a nice surprise to see Thor and Loki as they interact with Spider-Man and the team. The Wolverine episode has been the best episode of this show, and this season by far. Apart from the inclusion of Wolverine himself, the episode was snappy, funny, and action-packed in all the right places. I would love to see Wolverine more, to be fair. This brings us to the end of today's video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel to get more videos like this one. Your support helps us grow. And tell me, what do you think of these two episodes? Who would you think would win in a fight to the death, Wolverine or Thor? Let me know in the comments below. I read all of them. And if you're watching till now, thank you. I'll see you in another video soon.